Am I the antagonist for not helping my parents when they are homeless? My parents are terrible with money. When I, 27 female, was little, my father gambled away all the saving, about $100,000 in risky penny stocks, which got wiped out in 2008, and we were forced to move into a single bedroom in a house for the three of us. Then my mom fell for an MLM, and you can imagine what happened. They lost the down payment to the house they were saving for. I begged them not to sign up for it since I saw it was clearly a scam and showed them evidence it was, and they just laughed at me and ignored me. They lost about $28,000 from that. Then recently they fall for a college sign-up scam and lost $32,000. They weren't signing up for college, they just needed a loan and tried to go to a private broker who promised to get them a school loan that they would use on whatever they wanted. I went with them to see the broker and told them it was a scam, and they ignored me. So basically they were trying to scam the government and got scammed instead. I actually tried to pry the pen away from my father's hands when I got desperate, as he was writing down his bank info and SSN, and he screamed at me I was embarrassing him and did it anyway. Again, they lost money and now they are homeless because their credit is crap and they can barely afford even crappy apartments. They probably can't get that money back since they have little documentation on the broker and what he promised. Now they live in their car and are begging me for money. I have about $100,000 saved waiting to buy a house, and they know about it because I stupidly told them I was saving for a house, and now are calling me and showing up at my apartment asking for money. They also want to move in the meantime, but my roommate and I agreed visitation from friends or family is max a week to prevent resentment, and if my parents move in, they probably will refuse to move out. They are going to food pantries, and honestly, I can't find it on myself to be that sympathetic since they don't listen to me until they need my money. NTA. You already tried to help multiple times. You would be foolish to give them money or let them stay with you. They'd be the financial equivalent of cement shoes. NTA. But I do recommend making sure to lock down your credit, since your parents may very well have your SSN from previous year's tax returns, etc., and could get desperate enough to open stuff in your name. I'm sorry, but your instincts are right on the money. Your parents require help, but not the kind of help they want from you. For now, you're relatively safe thanks to the rule you have with your roommate, but when you do get your own house, I'd consider not giving them your address to avoid harassment. They've ruined their lives. Don't let them do the same to yours. NTA. You're not a bad person for keeping your boundaries. They are horrible with money. They will take advantage of you. You have a right to your own secure life. Even if they don't have one, by their own doing. It's difficult when it's family, but you do have to watch out for yourself. Allowing them to stay with you would be a slippery slope. Giving them money is just as risky. They'll just keep wasting it and asking for more. Better to set your boundaries now. Am I the antagonist for telling my ex's girlfriend I was never married to him and yelling at him when he confronted me? I was never married to my ex, although we were engaged and we share a daughter together. His girlfriend recently asked me why we divorced, and I explained we were never married, but we broke up because I had bad postnatal depression. She started crying after I told her and told me my ex and his family made her get an abortion because they wouldn't accept an out-of-wedlock baby. She asked me if they tried the same with me, and I told her they hadn't. However, his family did the same to my friend who was dating his brother. My ex was supposed to drop our daughter home yesterday, but came alone so he could confront me and tell me to stay out of his relationship. I ended up yelling at him and telling him he was no better than his brother and that I couldn't believe I had a baby with somebody like him. He yelled at me for interfering in his life and because I told him I didn't want my daughter around him or his family if this was the type of influence they were going to be on her. Am I the antagonist? Definitely not the a-hole. His family are revolting. I feel so sad for his girlfriend as well as your friend. I feel sad for you and your daughter. Get custody orders though. NTA if the girlfriend did indeed approach you and ask. While she is crying now, you saved her from dealing with some obvious sociopaths. Your ex and his family sound like terrible people. First off, why are he and his brother going around causing multiple unplanned pregnancies if they don't want out of wedlock babies? No offense, but seriously. TBH, I feel like the parents are deeply ashamed by their son's negligent sexual behavior and don't want this becoming known, or if they are wealthy, have multiple grandkids with some sort of stake in their finances. I would take their behavior as a cue for how you should put up some major walls between your child and their father. NTA, please make sure you have all of your legal ducks in a row with respect to custody, support, legal decision making. Also, I don't know what the deal is, but it would probably be a good idea to avoid his current girlfriend. You do not need to spill into a lot of drama here. You aren't psychic. Even if you were willing to lie for him, you had no way of knowing what he wanted you to say. For all you knew, she just put 2 and 2 together and made 5 when she thought you had been married. How on earth were you to know that she had been pregnant, let alone pressured to have an abortion, let alone the reasoning for this? If one must lie, then the people who know the truth need to be in on the lie. Am I the antagonist for telling my parents I have no interest in attending a tense family Christmas anymore? So before people roll their eyes / cringe / scream seeing the word Christmas already, please hear me out, LOL. I'm 17 female. I still live with my parents and my 2 brothers 16 male and 13 male. My mom has 2 older kids. Half-brother 29 male and half-sister 27 female. Mom divorced their dad right after her pregnancy with the youngest was up. They had broken up before Mom even gave birth to their daughter. But things were never easy. She met my dad 2 years post-divorce and married him after 3 years together. They had us and all should have been fine, if not good. But their dad was not having my dad or me and my brothers be important to his and my mom's kids, and he used all kinds of parental alienation he could. It was messy. Mom was awarded full custody after a while, but then he sued again and they wanted to return once they were teenagers. During all this, Mom had them in therapy, family therapy. They were awful to be around. They did not treat us good and they did not treat Dad good. They would treat us like crap. Calling us names, telling us they wished we had never been born or that their dad would come and make us pay for being born. Shit like that was so common, and then they were gone. They were mostly at their dad. Then a few years ago we started seeing them some more, but they still didn't like us. Neither did their spouses. My half-sister has 2 kids and we're not allowed to interact with her kids. She tells her kids my brothers and I are the mistakes Grandma made and that my dad is ignored by them entirely. Every Christmas they spend some time with us and it's awful. My brothers and I hate it, my dad hates it. But we have to deal with it for Mom. Dad does so willingly. The rest of us not so much. Last Christmas was the worst one yet. Mom's son is expecting a baby with his wife and all the while they were celebrating, we were ignored, and then I heard her kids talk about us being so annoying and in their face simply for being present. Half-sister's husband made one joke to me the whole time, saying they'd just have to make their Christmas wish that next year none of us would be there and their family could be together. That was about all he said to me the whole time. I'm just so done. Mom will never let them go. Dad will never want to see her sad. I don't want to deal with it. So I told them I am done with family Christmas after they started talking about it a few weeks ago. That I will not be with them celebrating. That I might only be 17, but they cannot expect me to spend the rest of my holidays being treated like I was a mistake / shouldn't be here, because I was born, which is not something I can control. Mom was so upset. Then she told me I had no say. I told them I would stay in my room. But I was not going to hang out with people who despise me and literally wish us all dead, because we all know it's what they do. So let me know, people, am I the antagonist? NTA. Your mom may never let them go and your dad may not want to see her upset, but they seem to have missed entirely that they have lost you and made you upset in the process. And you are still children who deserve protection from their parents. Leave, stand up for yourself, hide, refuse to interact, whatever it takes. But yes, make it clear you are no longer a part of this sanctioned abuse. Whatever it takes to make your parents realize they have subjected you to torment for long enough and are nearly out of time to fix it. Edit, that's not intense Christmas. That's an abusive environment. And you do have a choice. NTA, but your parents most definitely are. It's their responsibility to protect you and your brothers, instead they're enabling this abuse. It's sad your mom thinks your half-sibling's corrosive, sick behavior is more important than your mental/emotional well-being. Is there any extended family, maybe on your dad's side, you could reach out to about the situation? Or request family counseling for you and your parents specifically? Other than that, maybe consider going low to no contact with them once you gain financial independence post-18. NTA at all, and it's disgusting that your mother lets her other children behave that way. Do you have another relative or friend whose place you could escape to during that gathering? Give CPS a call and let them know what's going on. They have great resources to help sometimes. But they openly invite people who harass you. And they let them, so this needs to be dealt with. Find a way to leave the house that day before they even get there. Then just don't go back. Let your dad know that you are safe and will return when they all leave. Sounds fair and a lot less mentally draining. Am I the antagonist for telling my parents not to mention my sister during my wedding? I am estranged from my sister. She and I used to have the same friend circle growing up, and she was good friends with my then best friend. But when I was 16, my then best friend was with a guy who ended up with a crush on me. I had no idea. Suddenly she turned into a bully, and she bullied me horrifically, to the point I was moved after only 2 months into a school year because she had leaked personal stuff about me to the whole school, including, but not limited to, the fact I had an ED, eating disorder, and had been diagnosed with social anxiety disorder, which made me shit my pants on the first day of high school and on our school's PT conference day. Sometimes this happened when my anxiety led to an anxiety attack. This was stuff she knew because she was meant to be my best friend, and she blasted it everywhere. My sister stayed friends with this girl despite all that. Not only that, but when I told her it upset me, she told me I was being a controlling brat for thinking I could ask her to dump a friend. That was when I decided I had lost 2 people. My parents tried to keep my sister away from my former best friend, but she insisted she should be allowed to have whatever friends she wanted. That friendship lasted several more years before they stopped being friends, but by then it was too much. She even brought this girl to stuff she knew I would be at under the guise of being allowed to bring friends. It was traumatic for me, and over that time I grew to hate my sister for subjecting me to that. She attempted to apologize a couple of years ago, but I didn't want to hear it. Now I'm engaged, and my parents were warned ahead of time that my sister wasn't getting an invite. My brothers told me our parents seemed to mention my sister in speeches they were preparing, and they wanted to give me a heads up since they didn't seem to want to listen to them. When I brought it up to my parents, they said they couldn't pretend she didn't exist since most people know I have a sister. I told her those most people also know that we no longer talk. I told them I did not want them to mention her at my wedding. They told me I was being unfair, especially when she attempted to apologize, but I stopped her. We're now not on the best of terms. They think I'm unfair. Am I the antagonist? NTA, revoke their privilege to give a speech. It's your wedding, not a Dr. Phil episode. NTA. If your parents can't celebrate your day without bringing up your estranged sister, maybe they shouldn't go either. Your wedding is not about her, or about them, or about whatever fantasies they have of forcing a reconciliation. NTA parents don't necessarily have to give a speech. IRC, it is typically just the best man and maid of honor who give a toast. In fact, none of the weddings I went to either sets of parents of bride and groom gave a speech or toast. But I am no expert on these things. Why a speech/toast at your wedding would even have any mention of your sister anyways. It should be about love, use two's relationship, and congratulations on your newest milestone together, etc., etc. If I was you, to prevent any potential drama, just do not let your parents be allowed to give a speech. The day is about you, and you don't want them bringing you pain or drama. Explain to them that it's not about her on your one special day, and if they can't respect that, they aren't entitled to give a speech as much as it would break your heart and theirs, but it would just be hurting you for themselves. Am I the antagonist for telling my roomie his girlfriend can't use my kitchen anymore? I own my house and my roommate rents my other room. His room is in the basement that has a bedroom, a den, and a bathroom. The only shared space we really have is the kitchen and yard. I don't have a problem with him having friends or company over, but when he moved in, I did make it clear to him that guests weren't allowed to stay long enough to be considered a resident because I only want one other person living in my house. That's all I can really handle. Usually there's no issue between us over the kitchen since we both clean up after ourselves. The problem is his girlfriend. He's been with her a few months now, and since she started coming over, she leaves the kitchen a wreck whenever she uses it. Twice now she's gotten milk at some point in the night and left the container on the counter. When they cook together, he cleans up and there's no issue. When she makes something for herself, she doesn't clean up. I'll go into the kitchen and there will be knives and cutting boards out. Crumbs and bits of vegetables or cheese on the counter. Dishes piled in the sink. I can live with the dishes not being taken care of right away, but at least clean up the crap left behind in case I need to use the kitchen after her. I've talked to him about this a few times already, and he said he'll talk to her. Whether he has or not, nothing has changed. The other day he got called into work on his day off and left about 2 hours before I had to go. I let her know when I'd be leaving so she could leave before then so I could lock up. Come out of my room and the kitchen is yet again wrecked and she was already gone. Left half a plate of food on the counter. Eggshells, raw bacon on the counter, shit on the stove. I took pictures of it all, cleaned it up quick and went to work. I shot my roomie a message we needed to talk when we were both home. Got home, showed him the pictures and told him what happened and told him I was done with the mess. I told him she could still come over, but she wasn't allowed to use the kitchen anymore unless they were cooking together, since that's the only time there isn't a mess after her. He asked me what about if she gets hungry while visiting and he's not, and I told him that's not my problem. He can cook with her, she can bring something from her place, or she can order something or go out, but I was done having the same conversation over and over about the same subject. He agreed to it, but has been making offhand comments the last couple days about me treating her unfairly since I now won't let her use the kitchen in addition to not wanting her to have a key. Am I the antagonist for not letting her use the kitchen? Edit, I misworded and I apologize. When he asked what was he to do if she got hungry when she's visiting and he's not, I mean he's not hungry, not that he's not home. I don't allow her to visit when he's not home. That incident was the first time she was there without him because he was supposed to be off but got called in. NTA. You already complained to your roommate, and his girlfriend still isn't respecting your house rules. You laid out that you only want one person to live with you, and since you're the homeowner, you decide who uses your kitchen and who gets a key. NTA. If the comments don't stop, probably time to find a new roommate. Nothing is worse than feeling tension in your own home. You said from the beginning no long-term guests, so why on earth would he even consider asking to give her a key is beyond me. She leaves the kitchen a wreck whenever she uses it. NTA, but you're looking at this the wrong way. The GF is your roommate's guest. Any mess she leaves is his mess. If she doesn't tidy it, then he has to. Don't treat this as a problem with the guest, treat it as a problem with the roommate. Every crappy thing she does is his problem to fix. Every mess is his to clean if he doesn't, etc. If your roommate had a party and the place was a state, would you look to blame the individuals involved for each piece of mess or the roommate? You'd blame the roommate. Your agreement is solely with the roommate, so you don't need to single out the roommate's guests, GF or not, just that the roommate isn't keeping up with their side of things. She's not your tenant and she's behaving completely disrespectfully to you and your home. They are both taking advantage of her by not cleaning her mess and him by having his girlfriend over way too much. If I were you, I'd make real sure that she's not getting mail there or doing anything else that would get her legally qualified as a tenant. Am I the antagonist for threatening to call the police on my girlfriend's sister? Throwaway account. My girlfriend, Amanda, and I have been together for 4 years, but I have known her for much longer. Amanda has 2 beautiful twin boys, 5 years old, from a previous relationship. Although they are not biologically mine, I love and adore my boys with all my heart. They are the best thing in my life, and I'm lucky to be their father. For as long as I've known Amanda, I've known that she is very distant with her family. She doesn't speak to them / about them, and if she does mention them, it's to complain about how horrible they are. Her older sister, Sandy, is a bit of a sensitive topic for her. Growing up, Amanda was always compared to Sandy, which fostered a very unhealthy relationship between them. Sandy grew up spoiled, perfect, and loved, while Amanda was rejected from her own family. To this day, Sandy still believes that she is the better sister. They do not talk. Sandy introduced Amanda to her ex-boyfriend, Mike, and baby father, many years ago. I won't elaborate on the specifics, but Amanda's ex-boyfriend is a total piece of crap. He treated Amanda terribly and is very hot-tempered, aggressive, and easily provoked. Sandy, despite them not being together for years and Amanda having full custody of her children, believes that her ex-boyfriend is the perfect man to keep Amanda in check. At 8 a.m., Sandy and Mike showed up at our house, completely unannounced. Not only was I surprised to see them, I was surprised at how they found out where I live, considering that I have never told them before. Sandy said that she came to visit Amanda and her nephews. They claimed that they wanted to celebrate Amanda's birthday, which is in late September. The whole situation was extremely confusing and slightly disorientating. I didn't feel comfortable letting them in, especially when Amanda wasn't home, so I refused and I told them to come back later. When I first refused, they grew very agitated. They started to raise their voices and insist that they wait for Amanda, or at the very least, allow them to see my kids. I kept saying no, and I got so upset that I slammed the door and told them to leave. I assumed that they would leave, but after 5 minutes, I could see them still waiting in my front garden. Through the window, I told them to leave or I would call the police. They quickly left. Amanda has told me that she's been receiving messages from random numbers calling her horrible names and having a soft boyfriend. It's clearly from Sandy and Mike, since she blocked them, but the messages are pretty mean to hear. I was talking to a friend about this whole situation and they told me that I shouldn't have meddled in Amanda's family affairs. I don't want to be the reason that Amanda is being harassed. This isn't about meddling or family dynamics. You were protecting the children from people who do not have custody and who did not have permission to be there. No other details needed. You were being a father. Full stop. You friends can't understand until they were protecting those kids in that moment. NTA. NTA. Sounds like they would have harassed her in some way or another. Your actions are just the first excuse they can get their grubby hands on. NTA, you literally did not meddle. You told them that they could come back when Amanda was present so that she could decide how she wanted to deal with the situation. You did the right thing. Don't listen to your friend. Do call the police to tell them that Amanda is being harassed and you don't know who by, but you have a good idea. Perhaps they can investigate. Amanda should probably get a new phone number, and going NC with the family wouldn't be the worst idea. If you are in the USA, I recommend reading through the Bill of Rights and seeing if there's anything there that might trigger some ideas about what else you can do.